Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well...
change the topic.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying with the
retirement career?
You're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue.
Raise taxes.
Far.
This is the face of a con artist. This is the face of a man who bought the presidency and has secured a government takeover to implement a form of government that revolves around himself and the rest of his tech billionaires, not the people.
So my next question is for anybody who still finds themselves in the fan club of Felon 47 and the Doge bags destroying this country. How many people does he have to hurt before it hits home? And don't you dare give me that, you don't care about corruption and fraud bullcrap either. You never did. If you did, you would be calling for Republicans to be strung up too, but you only care about hurting Democrats. When in reality, the only fraud these motherfuckers have managed to find is themselves when they do things like refuse to admit they can't read COBOL, so they convince you sad sorry some that Social Security has been paying out folks for 150 years. Quick lesson for the kids in red hats at the back of the class: never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence. Now, normally that means that people aren't evil, they're just stupid, but in this particular case, the words just weirdly apply. Anyways, that's going to be my rant for the day. This actually wasn't where I was originally going. I wanted to talk about the schools and the voucher system.
One of my favorite content creators, PissedOffBartender, rails against Musk, MAGA, and Trump, to name a few, in his rants. Let's hear more, shall we?
Donald Trump is now running into what could be his biggest obstacle yet when it comes to reshaping the federal government: Medicare and Medicaid. NBC News reports that the official budget scorekeeper says there's no way Republicans can hit their budget goals and pass the bill the president wants without making significant cuts to one of those programs. Democrats insisting today that would wreck the lives of millions of Americans.
We told y'all they were coming for this, and MAGA still did not listen to the warnings.
You see, folks, this one's real simple to get to the meat of the matter. All you got to do is the math. There is no way they can come up with $880 billion worth of budget cuts without taking a massive chunk out of Medicaid. But some of y'all, don't feel like I have to say who, do not seem to have the discernment skills to look any deeper than, well, my billionaire daddy said. I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to the question I'm about to ask because it has never changed. It's the same as it's always been. But, MAGA, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you have to say goodbye to a certain senior citizen in your life because they can no longer afford their medical expenses? What are you going to do about that cancer patient you know who can no longer afford chemo? What are you going to do about the disabled person you know who can no longer afford their care because their disability check can't cover it? What are you going to do when it affects you? Oh, and just so you know, you can't say come together as a community and crowdfund it. That would be communism. Now, once again, I'm not actually expecting a real answer. I already know what it is. Y'all are going to do exactly whatever it is that dictator that you daydream about tells you to do. Meanwhile, a whole lot of people who never did anything wrong in their entire lives other than try to be a good person are going to find themselves in the past tense. But don't you worry, the billionaires in the private healthcare industry, oh, well, they will continue to make big profits.
Amen to that, brother. As we have seen over and over, the healthcare industry is full of robber barons who profit off of us and withhold necessities until we pay them. It is a scam. Let's be clear, through and through.
Well, I'm a big fan of school choice. I think school choice is a great thing. School choice is a big deal, actually, and we're going to get it. We're also moving the Department of Education back to the states. You know, we're at the bottom of every list, except we spend more per pupil than any other country. And we're going to move it back. And, I can't say all states because some won't do as good and some won't do very good at all because they'll run it like they run it anyway. You know who I'm talking about. But many of these states are going to do a phenomenal job. They'll be at the top of the list. So we're moving education back to the states. We'll do it for half the cost, less than half the cost. and we'll get a real education out of it.
So-called school choice programs also appear to disproportionately benefit religious schools. What a shock, right? According to the Washington Post, an analysis of voucher programs, 87% of Arizona's voucher money went to religious schools. While Arizona has the nation's most expansive voucher program, 10 other states have similar programs. 17 more states have smaller voucher systems. The same Washington Post analysis found that in those 28 states that provide public funding for private school vouchers, the vast majority of the money ends up going to religious schools. What a shocker, which translates to billions of dollars in public education funding being lost. In some states, as much as 98% of voucher funding goes to religious schools. So, to recap, Arizona gave students in the school choice program roughly $7,000 each, made up of funding that used to go to public schools in order to allow them to choose their own non-public option. But the voucher doesn't cover the full amount of tuition at those schools, so families who already pay for tuition get a tuition break, while families who can't pay the tuition are forced back into public schools, where they're now receiving even fewer resources.
To reiterate, this is what they voted for. This is what they wanted. We tried ringing the alarm. It fell on deaf ears, and sadly, it appears to be imminent.
I don't really want to take the time to explain the school voucher system if you have not figured out yet that it is nothing more than welfare for the wealthy. Well, then I don't know what to tell you. What I do want to talk about is the overwhelmingly negative response that Republicans have had to their right-wing leaders in comment sections across social media. You see, for some reason, even though I live in Alabama, my bookface loves to serve me content from that embarrassment Greg Abbott. But do not worry, brisket-flavored friends. He wants to assure you that underfunding your public schools will absolutely not affect their football budget. People, that's not parody. That's a real post. You can go to Greg Abbott's social media. You will see where he told you not to worry because the high school football teams will not be affected. He is actively ignoring any and all of his constituents that raise a concern with this issue. Now, totally imaginary bouncers, take him outside, pull out a dictionary, and teach this imbecile the definition of the term tariff. That ought to stop him talking for at least 2 or 3 weeks. Have you folks got sick of this bit yet?
Honestly, yes. We've been sick of it far beyond 2016. It's just the evil keeps on repeating itself with the worst bad faith actors who are able to reach the electorate with fake populism that only enriches the billionaire class and themselves. Tiresome is an understatement. For more fantastic content from the friendly Pissed Off Bartender, head over to youtube.com/@PissedOffBartender to check out his videos. Merch can be found off the website bonfire.com. His Instagram under the handle PissedOffBartender with the last E replaced by a 3, and his TikTok under the original name PissedOffBartender. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.